This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, 1 second. Do we hear everybody? Let me get the sound going better. Okay, good. So we are going through the 39 Melachot, and last week, and we're going through sort of in a faster manner, and then we'll see how each of them apply. Those that do apply, many of them don't really apply, or don't apply in our world so much. But we'll see those that do apply and how they apply. Number 11, I think we did, but let me just touch upon it again because something came up during this early this week in conversation, and it was good to clarify. So number 11 on page 159 is baking or cooking, right? The reason we say baking is because this is called sidura de pat. This is the whole order of the making of the bread, which was part of that went on in the Beit HaMikdash, in the Mishkan, in the tabernacle, and in the temple. So again, 11, this malacha of baking involves changing food, drinks, or other materials by means of heat. Forbidden activities include baking, cooking, roasting, grilling, frying, melting solid materials like wax or metals, and drying wood in an oven. And this will be explained in detail later on page 189. So let me ask you, my esteemed colleagues, we have a water cooler in the hallway there next to the restrooms, where one can take out cold water, one can take out hot water. Can one utilize that on Shabbos, and in which manner? Or, right, if one can utilize it on Shabbos, in which manner and why?
You use the cold water, but it's just as if you're using, it could acts as kind of a refrigerator.
Okay. So Ladero says you can use the cold water because it acts as a refrigerator. Please expound further, Rabbi Ladero. Why is it okay if it is like a refrigerator?
Well, it's already plugged into the wall.
It's already plugged into the wall.
And it's not, because we can't use the hot because that would be considered heating it up.
Okay.
Because of the...
We can't use the hot. Why can't we use the hot? For the same reason that you will not be able to use the hot water in your own homes on Shabbos unless you are part of a very large apartment building which has this massive tank for hot water. So basically there's always cold water going in, getting heated up, and hot water coming out. But the reason why, if that's not the case, we can't use the hot water over there or in our homes or apartments, is when we take out hot water, what happens? Cold water goes into that compartment, whether it's our boiler in our house or it is the little compartment as part of the water cooler, which has a heating compartment, which heats up the water. Cold water goes in there and immediately is getting heated up. And that's a problem. But someone asked me, so why isn't the same problem? You take out cold water. Cold water is immediately going into that cold water compartment and getting cooled off. Why is it a problem when the water goes into the hot area and not when it goes into the cold area?
Because it's changing.
They're both changing. One's getting hot, one's getting cold. Cooking is only a problem if changing food or drinks by means of heat. Otherwise, it's like, can I take a pitcher of juice or water and put it into my refrigerator? I certainly can. Why is that? Because cooking is only changing something by heat. Cooling something off is not an issue. So when I take out hot water, immediately cold water goes into that hot water area, container, whatever it is over there, and gets cooked. That's a problem on Shabbos. The cold water going in is not a problem on Shabbos. It's getting cooled off. Yes, Esther.
So I think I've noticed on Shabbat that there's a big urn. There's a big urn
of hot water.
Of hot water.
That's okay because
it
already has.
Okay. Is that use that?
That would be okay to use. Why?
Because it's already in one vessel. It's not going to refill cold water into the
But
vessel.
here's my question, is there a thermostat on that keeps it hot? And it
Okay,
goes
so
back down?
Esther is asking, how about a hot water urn? So there we don't have the problem, as Yoshi pointed out, we don't have the problem of any cold water going in and getting warmed up. That's not a problem because it doesn't happen, right? Whatever you've gotten there. How about the fact that it has a thermostat that once it reaches a certain temperature, it automatically goes on and reheats the water, right? So that's cooking the water on Shabbos. And you can't cook on Shabbos. You can't get benefit from things that are cooked on Shabbos. So why is that okay? That's a good question. That's getting a little bit more complicated, yes?
Because it's already been cooked once.
Okay,
So once
good,
it's been cooked, it
good,
doesn't have to be.
good.
Yeah.
So we have a concept of ein bishul achar bishul. Ein, there is not bishul cooking, achar after bishul. There's no cooking after cooking. Meaning if something's cooked, it's cooked. Now, whoa, that's not always the case. When it comes to a solid, that's the case. If the chicken is cooked, I can reheat the chicken. I'm not recooking the chicken. I'm warming the chicken. It's not considered cooking it again. If I have some rice, I have a nice kugel. Everybody familiar with a kugel? Okay. If not, you have to ask Yoshi to bring you a kugel from OC Kosher. You see exactly what a kugel, right? Zaira, a kugel is, we make it out of potatoes, we make it out of noodles, or you can make it out of different, and basically you mix that usually with some eggs and flour, and then you bake it, and it becomes a nice. You mash up the potatoes. I don't know how would you describe a kugel? I'm not much of a cook. Yeah, yeah, and then you bake it, right? So it's like, I don't know what it's like in
It's like a
like a casserole.
Yeah, there you go.
It's like a casserole.
Brown casserole.
And it
A
can be
hash
hot.
brown
It can
casserole.
be sweet or savory.
Right, yes. Okay, so that's a solid. That can be warmed up on Shabbos. We'll see. A general rule that will come to by Bishul is there are always two checkpoints. Number one, if it's cooking, that's it. DOA. Full stop. Right? If it's cooking, you can't do it. If it's not cooking, we have to make sure it doesn't appear as if you are cooking. We'll come to that later on. Okay? So when it comes to reheating a solid, by a solid, we say there's no cooking after cooking. Once it's cooked, it's cooked. So when it comes to reheating a solid, we get past our first checkpoint. No, it's not cooking. We have to then make sure that we pass our second litmus test here, which is it's done in a way that doesn't appear like it's cooking. We'll come to all that later on. However, by a liquid, yesh bishul achar bishul. There is cooking after cooking. I have a chicken soup. I've got a vegetable soup in my refrigerator. It's cold. Now I can't, even if I do it in a way that it won't look like I'm cooking, I can't heat that up on Shabbos. Why? Because by a liquid, yesh bishul acher bishul. By a liquid, there is cooking after cooking. Even though it's been cooked, my heating it, if it was cold, key, if it got cold, then my reheating it is considered to be cooking. I am recooking. That's the problem. As long, according to the Ashkenazic custom, as long as it's still warm,
Yeah, because the water in the urn is not going to.
okay. As long as it's still warm, doesn't have to be hot. As long as it's still warm, ein bishul acher bishul. There's no cooking after cooking, even by liquids.
So when it comes for, let's say you have soup on Friday night,
I don't think I'm recording.
you just can't.
You can't rewarm it.
Oh, it is in progress. Good.
Verification.
Say it again. I'm sorry.
Like if you have a soup that you eat on Friday night, and you put it in the fridge, it's done.
Yes.
Okay. Now
It's
can
done.
you put it? Can you keep it in a little like crock pot?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You could keep it in a crock pot. It will stay hot overnight, or you could leave it on your blech, on your covered flame, or on your You have to, on your hot plate. You can leave it on all night.
Rabbi,
Right? That's actually what a cholent. The cholent, because a little history. We had the Karaites who rejected all of the Torah Shabbal Peh, all of the oral Torah transmitted to us from Moshe on Mount Sinai. They take the psukim literally when they're not meant to be. So when it says there should not be any fires, we understand that to mean you cannot ignite a fire, but you can utilize a fire that has been burning from before Shabbos, right? As long as you're first test, not cooking, B, doesn't look like you're cooking, okay? They take it literally. They sit in a cold, dark house the entire Shabbat, and they eat cold food the next day. We specifically have the custom to eat hot food to show that we are not part of that, and we follow the Torah Shabbal Peh. How do you eat hot food on Shabbos? Well, it stays on the blech. It stays on the hot plate, whatever it is. The blech is the term for a metal covering over an open flame of a stovetop. It stays there the whole Shabbos, or we use a crock pot, and that way it's cooking the whole time, and it is delicious the next day. You have to be careful. If it's a chicken soup, you want to make sure it's staying hot enough that it won't go bad, things like that. A vegetable soup is less of an issue, but that's already just a health issue. But as long as you're leaving it hot the whole night, then you are good to go and you can have it the next day. But once you put it into the refrigerator and it cooled off, end of story. You can have some Saturday night, have it Sunday night for dinner, but you can't have it on Shabbos.
what about black with the timer and the soup is on top of that?
Okay. So how about I have a hot plate that works on a timer? And so what do you want to do with that, Josh?
I want to leave the soup there.
Leave it there? As long as it stayed hot the whole time, I'm fine. It's not going to be healthy if it goes off. But if you're asking, can I take it, put it into the fridge, in the morning, take it out, put it onto the cold hot plate, and then the timer will turn on the hot plate and heat it up, is that good or no good? No good. Why? We don't pass our first checkpoint. That's Bisho. Once it's cold, reheating it is cooking. And you can't get benefit from that which was cooked on Shabbat. Okay?
Unless it's a solid.
Unless it's a solid. Yes, solid, there's no cooking after cooking. Now let's say, just 1 second, Danielle, I'm with you. Let's say I have my chicken Friday night. Okay? I can read a mind. Let's say I have a nice tray with chicken. What's on the bottom of the tray? Gravy's on the bottom of the tray. I want to serve it the next day. I put it into the fridge. What's going to happen? The gravy's going to get hard. I put it onto the hot plate the next day. What's going to happen? It's going to go back to a liquid. That's a problem. That's a problem. What can I do? I can take the chicken out and put it into a dry tray. Now, there will always be some of the gravy that is attached to it. There will always be juices in the chicken, oils, juice in the chicken, that when I heat it will come out. That's not a problem. I don't need to wet vac my chicken before I put it away, right? I could take it out, put it into a dry pan, and then I could heat that up the next day, because at that point, it's a solid, right? It has some gravy that dried on it that's going to turn into a liquid. It has liquids inside. It's a solid. Okay, but the gravy will be an issue. Okay, so coming back, Esther, to your urn over here, right? So being that when granted the thermostat will kick back on, but it never gets cold, right? Let's say it wants to maintain it, I would guess, at about 110 degrees. Probably when it gets down to 98, 97, 95, it kicks on. That is all fine because it's a liquid that's still warm, so it's not cooking on Shabbos. I'm not doing anything, it's happening automatically, and that is fine.
So back to the chicken issue. So you have your, say, gravy, and you've got your chicken, and then it becomes a matter of separating, right? Which you're also not supposed to do.
Okay, that's an interesting question, right? We learned last week about borer, separating, right? And we said that there were 3 requirements. There's the good from the bad. It's got to be miyad for immediate usage, biyad with your hands or with, not with tools, not with utensils, right? Forks, knives, or extensions. So you're asking, right? This is separating the good from the bad, right? And for the next day, that should be a problem. But it's not a problem. Why is it not a problem? Let's remember the cantaloupe and honeydew. What do we say about the cantaloupe and the honeydew?
It's in the normal fashion.
No. That's what we said by the watermelon.
Oh.
The seeds
Right?
in the middle.
The seeds are in the middle, and therefore, what is it?
It's not a mixture.
It's not a mixture.
Yeah.
Okay? This is not a mixture. Right? It's already self-separated. It's not a mixture over here. And that's why it would not be a problem, right? You know, meatballs and spaghetti, right? That would be the mixture. Peas and carrots, that's the mixture. This is not a mixture, right? It's not all mixed up. It's some chicken sitting in the pan and there's some gravy on the bottom. That would not be a mixture. Borer, the problem of separating is only a problem when it is a mixture. Okay, are we good?
Yeah.
Just one last point about our water cooler over there. But when I take out cold water, so then the lukewarm, the room temperature water from the large bottle goes into the cooling compartment, which we established is not a problem. But why are we concerned that that's going to activate the compressor? Because now it needs to work harder in order to cool off that water. Why are we not concerned that by taking cold water out, lukewarm water goes into the cooling compartments? That's going to activate the compressor. So am I activating the compressor by taking out cold water?
Because it won't do it every time you do it.
Good.
It's going to do it in intervals.
It's not an automatic thing.
Yeah.
Even if it does go on, it's not an automatic thing.
Yeah.
Okay? As opposed to opening up an oven, even if, let's say there is no light in the ovens, that's not a problem. But opening up the oven immediately, try this at home, right? You open the oven, what are you going to see? The fires are going to flare up. Why? As we mentioned, the difference between the refrigerator and the outside temperature, as the refrigerator is at 35, the outside temperature is at 70, so 35-degree difference. The compressor does not need to kick on immediately in order to maintain that temperature. But the oven is at 350 and the house at 70. That's a difference of 280 degrees. So there it's got to click on. Yes, Ciner.
What about if it's electrical?
Electric oven is the same problem. Same problem. Okay. Now, what was I just going to say? I say something. Oh, now in my house, in order to, what I try to do, let's say on Shabbos, I need to switch the bottle. We finished. We have the five. We have similar to what we have over here. We have the 5-gallon bottle, right? If and sometimes it empties on Shabbos, I need to switch, put a new one in there. Not a problem. But one thing that I will try to do is I try not to drain out all the cold water. Meaning when there's still cold water in the whole system, that's when I'll take out. The bottle is empty, right? There's the bottle. there's the piping, there's the cooling area, right? So I'll try to do it when I won't wait till I empty it out. Once I no longer see any water in the bottle, that's when I'll take out the empty one and put on the full one. Why would I try to do it like that? Why would I try not to drain it completely and then put the fresh water on?
That'd be better.
Sorry? Right. Then, right, if all of a sudden if the cooling compartment is empty, then all of a sudden lukewarm water goes in there, what's going to happen basically automatically, right? The compressor is now again, I'm not saying that if you did empty it out, you can't put the water on, because it's not automatic and it probably take a little while. You know, there are many variables over there. But I try to avoid that situation where it would seem that my actions are going to kick this compressor into gear. Okay, good. Let us begin the order of making garments, okay, which is going to take us through 12 through 24. 13, the next 30, remember we said like 39 seems overwhelming, and then we broke it down. There's 11 towards baking. It began with plowing and ended up with baking and cooking. And now we're going to have 13 that are going to bring us to making garments. And then there's going to be 9 that's going to bring us to writing, okay? Now, many of these don't really figure so much in our world, but let's go through them. Okay, making garments. So on page 160, Malacha number 12 and number 1 of this next 13 that we're going through is shearing, removing any natural growth from the body of a man or an animal. We shear the sheep to get the wool to start to make our garments. Forbidden activities include shearing or plucking wool, feathers or hairs, okay? Sometimes, right? Cutting fingernails or toenails, tearing off bits of skin from around the nails, removing hairs or calluses from the body, where by cutting or through electrical or chemical means, plucking hairs off a fur coat. Interesting. One may not comb one's hair on Shabbos, as this may tear out hairs. Okay. So, again, for us, this is not all, we don't have so many of these situations, unless you got a hair that's really annoying you and you're tempted to pluck it out, or if you have a little skin over there, you know, right? You know, things like that. But for the most part, this is not such an issue. Interesting, plucking hairs off a fur coat. How about plucking, you know, let's say the chicken wasn't cleaned as well as we normally like. Nothing against OC kosher. But let's say the chicken wasn't clean. You got it elsewhere. You didn't get it OC kosher. It's nice and clean. Right? You got it at Costco, perhaps. Right? And there's some feathers over there. Is that a problem taking the feathers out? I don't know if it is. I don't know if it is.
Could it be an unwanted unwanted, right?
Oh, okay. So maybe it might be a problem, right? Might be a problem of bow rare, right? Unless we apply our favorite watermelon rule to it, and that's sort of derech achila. That's the way you eat it. You know, I'm not doing an act of separating. You know, that's I'm doing that as I'm eating it, right? Yeah. I mean, my first thought was, you know, if it's no longer alive, then it's not a problem of shearing. Though it may be, even if you have a dead sheep, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? It will still be shearing. And that's when they mentioned plucking hairs off of a fur coat. I'm not sure. Interesting.
I have a question.
Yes.
So my cat Ruth likes to be pet every day. So I pet her every day. Should I stop on Shabbat?
Okay. So that would not be a problem of shearing. Okay. Now, right, taking a hard comb and combing her hair, her fur, that would be an issue. As taking a hard comb, and those who have hair, right? Combing your hair, right? That would be an issue because that will that pulls out hairs. That's what it does. Okay. Using a soft brush is not a problem because a soft brush does not pull out hair, even though it might pull out hair, but that's not what you intend. It's not definitely going to happen, and therefore it will not be an issue. There is a term called a psik resha. Okay, it's a lucky term. It has a little bit of a gory backstory, but I'll tell it once, and then we'll just use the term psik resha from then on. A psik resha is a unavoidable outcome. Okay, so even though I don't mean to pull out hairs when I'm combing my hair, it is a psik resha. It's an unavoidable outcome that will happen, and therefore the fact that I don't intend to do it is irrelevant. If it's an unavoidable outcome, then it's as if you did intend, because doing that equals hair coming out. Okay? By using a soft brush, there it's not a psik resha, it's not an unavoidable outcome, and you don't intend for that to happen, you don't want for it to happen, if it's not going to be an issue. The backstory very quickly, psik resha, is that before we had Lego, so what would children play with? They would play with a chicken head. That was a fun thing to play with. So can I knock off the head of a chicken for a kid to play with it? I don't want to kill the chicken. That's not my intention. But psik resha, if you sever the head, the lo yamut, is it not going to die? So therefore that is, even if it isn't unintended, that is an automatic, unavoidable outcome. So we use that term for any unavoidable outcome. Okay. Yeah, so combing one's hair. Now, when it comes to your pet, so then there is another issue.
Capturing.
No, it's already captured. It's already in the apartment. You're not capturing it, right? It's already there, right? But the issue is muktzah. Muktzah is a rabbinic safeguard of not moving things that have no Shabbos usage, right? So even though the argument can be made that, muktzah is something that is set aside from my usage because it has no Shabbos usage, but a pet is something that I'm planning on coming in contact with, and it helps the pet, right? And also often helps the owner. But we feel good when sitting there, petting the dog or the cat, right? But for the most part, I would say it's viewed. Pet animals are viewed as muktzah, so one would try to avoid as much as one can the contact with the animals, but not a problem of shearing unless you're using, like I said, a hard comb on the cat's fur. Bleaching, laundering. Okay, after they would shear the wool, they would bleach it. That's 160, page 161. The malach of bleaching involves any action which cleans or improves the appearance of clothes or fabrics. This happens often, and people make this mistake often, right? Grape juice, wine can do a job on a white shirt or blouse. So if it does spill, what's our initial reaction? What do we want to do? Go into the restroom, right? Go to the sink and rinse it out. That is a serious Torah problem. That is bona fide laundering. What you are exactly doing, you are laundering. That is something that one cannot do. Hot water, cold water, detergent, doesn't make a difference. You are laundering. So, right, if you're a man, you just move your tie strategically to cover up that spot, right? If your wife sees you and they have to go change your shirt, you have no choice. Otherwise, you can use the strategic tie, right? And you get it cleaned after Shabbos.
Or you wear your pro.
I'm sorry?
Or you wear your pro.
Yes, yes, right? You know, a Haggadah that has wine stains on it, that shows it's been used well. You know, a white shirt that has some stains on it, means it's been a Shabbos shirt. Okay, forbidden activities include soaking fabrics, right? Let's say, okay, I'm not going to wash it, but let me just put it into a tub of water, and that way it won't set so much. That's a problem, right? Soaking fabrics or clothes in water or the fluids, scrubbing clothing, shaking fluids off garments, wringing out garments, ironing, cleaning stains, shaking or brushing off dust from clothes or hats whose appearance wanted. Okay, we'll see about that. Refolding a tallis or clothes into their original folds. Okay, that's interesting. Part of the laundering process was to fold it up really well. Now, we don't have, at least, well, I guess maybe pants. When we hang up slacks, you probably often you want to hang it up on the crease. I don't know, women's clothing, do you have so many things that are like that also? Okay, right. So a tallis is something that people often fold. A man likes to fold it on to keep it crisp on those original folds. So one would not fold their tallis, either not fold it on Shabbos, or if you want to fold it, you don't fold it on those original creases, right? Okay. Hanging up wet laundry or squeezing water from one's wet hair. Okay, right? Typically we don't swim on Shabbos. A woman can go if the mikveh, if her mikveh night is Friday night, a woman does go to the mikveh Friday night, but she'll need to be careful that she would more towel dry, towel blot her hair as opposed to wringing out the hair, but just touching. Yes, Liddell.
So when it comes to using a towel to wash your face, like in the morning or something like that,
Okay.
it's okay to use. You just can't wring it.
Correct. And
That's
using
more
a
of a
towel,
dry
even if it's gotten somewhat wet, using a towel is okay. You can't wring out the towel to make it, to wring it out. That you can't. Okay? Yeah. Okay, hanging wet laundry, that is probably more an issue of the marit ayin, of the appearance, than of an actual malacha that you're doing. By just
That's what I was
hanging
gonna
it,
say. It doesn't
yeah.
seem like it's connected directly, but it's at least a part of the laundry process.
It's
right?
correct, and therefore it will appear as if.
All right, real quick, you mentioned the hanging up of pants. Would you recommend not
Correct.
lining it up with the crease?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, don't do it exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. 14, combing raw material, right? After they would bleach it, they would start to comb it out. The malacha of combing raw material involves separating a solid or entangled material into threads, combing raw wool, and beating flax. Again, not so much an issue in our homes on Shabbos. Okay. 15, dyeing. Okay, page 163. The malach of dyeing involves changing or reinforcing the natural or artificial color of an object or fluid. Okay, so forbidden activities include painting objects, dyeing clothes in a solution, dissolving colors in water or other fluids, making chemical solutions, color reactions, developing film, applying makeup to the face, eyes, and lips, applying nail polish. Okay, so when it comes to makeup, I'll have Natalie give you guys a little more.
I was gonna say if she could one day come in and maybe teach the women about
Yeah.
the makeup stuff, because I hear like we're allowed to have oil-based, I guess, makeup or something. It has to be a
Yes.
particular kind. It can't be
Yes.
liquid.
So like a powder one could, right? Like yeah. I'll have to have Natalie.
Behind your pay grade.
Yeah. My mother, she used to say, it's more important for a boy to be good looking than for a girl. What do you mean? Right? Okay? Because a boy, what you see is what you get. right? The girl has a little more leeway. She can add a little of this, you know, a little of that. Boy is kind of like, that's it. Yeah, yeah.
Pretty much.
And yeah, yeah. So you know, there are. Okay, I'm pretty sure you have to. Shabbat, there's Shabbos makeup which will stay on better than normal makeup, right? You know, like a lipstick, right? So you can't put lipstick on Shabbos morning, but there is Shabbos lipstick that will stay on a little bit better than, right? Yeah, we'll see. Okay, 16, spinning, right? Making threads from raw materials, pulling, stretching, twisting, or rolling. Okay. Forbidden activities include making threads or ropes and twisting new threads or threads which become loose. The only actual real life case I think that we have of this is sometimes, right, our tzitzis strings. So every string of the tzitzis is wound. Sometimes they can separate, right? So you might be tempted to respin it back, right? That would be an issue. Okay, 17, preparing the loom for a weaving. Okay, you've been warned. I don't want to see any of you preparing the loom for weaving on Shabbos. I know it's a crazy temptation, but you've got to. Okay, number 18 is a similar issue, similar temptation for us. Ose bate nirim. The Eid Malach is another activity that prepares the loom for weaving, arranging the warp in such a way that the woof threads can be easily woven through them. There's the warp and the woof, or maybe vice versa. One is going this way, the other is going that way, and these are all part of the process. Weaving. The night of Malach is weaving, accomplished by weaving the woof through the warp to form material. Okay. These three malachim include the following activities: weaving material, knitting or crocheting. Okay, right? A person might enjoy knitting, crocheting. That we can't do on Shabbos. Okay, making a wire fence. Okay, let's go.
Does that include like braiding hair?
Braiding hair might be included in, I'm sorry?
I wanted that.
Yeah, braiding hair actually might be included in boner, in building.
Would braiding hair follow a similar logic of like tying a tie or something like that?
Okay.
Because it's like temporary. It's not a
Yeah,
permanent-
yeah. So making, right, tying your tie is not a problem. Like tying your shoelaces are not a problem. Even though knotting, K-N-O-T-T-I-N-G, knotting is a problem. That's when it is of a permanent nature. Okay? So probably it would be okay. I have to ask now.
I think it's more like the leaf, there's 30 strips, there's multiple strands, like the tie is just two.
Right.
A shoelace is just two.
Right. Would
I
this be
always on the safe side for London, I'll braid her hair on Friday, like that's what I would do if you either choose
Yeah.
to, if I choose to keep it braided or I undo that so I don't have to brush her hair so much. So just to be safe, I either do it in advance.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we could put on speakerphone for makeup.
Hi, Natalie. I'm putting you on speakerphone. We have some questions over here. Okay? Braiding hair on Shabbos.
And makeup.
We don't braid hair on Shabbos.
We don't braid hair on Shabbos. So it's not a problem of knotting, it's a problem of weaving. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay. Okay. And the women here are clamoring for you to come one week and to explain about makeup. You know my level of knowledge and expertise of these things.
And you asked about Natalie, if it's
Okay.
unbraiding as well too, if I'm unbraiding a.
Okay. How about unbraiding hair?
That is an interesting question. I believe you can. I believe if it was braided before Shabbos, I believe that you can. I just need
Right.
to.
There, it kind of comes out by itself, right? I would imagine.
Right. Well, it depends on
Yeah.
how tight it is, but yeah, you sort of let it.
Yeah.
You sort of shake it a little bit, and I believe that you can
Yeah.
then allow it to.
That's why I'm careful not to unbraid my hair on Shabbos.
Yes.
Or even my beard. Yes. Okay, honey. I'll see you soon. Thank you. Okay. Bye. Okay. We got our answer. Yes. Okay. Number 21, tying a knot. This malacha involves tying a permanent knot. Okay, that is an issue. Now, even if your shoelaces come out, so you want to tie a double knot, that will not be a problem. Why? Yes, because it's not going to be of a permanent nature. Okay, once again, the tzitzis comes up though, right? Let's say, right, the tzitzis is double knot, wrap around, double knot, wrap around, double knot, wrap around, double knot. Very often the double knot starts to come out, so you want to tighten that. That is a problem on Shabbos, because that is a double knot and it's a permanent knot, and you want it to be a permanent knot. Okay, so therefore you wouldn't tighten the knots on your tzitzis on Shabbos. That does come up.
So even like in the morning, so like when you're putting your talis gadol as well, like you check the tzitzis there as well. So
Correct.
Shabbos specifically.
Correct.
You shouldn't
So
be
you're
doing
checking to make sure that none of the strings have become broken.
Yeah.
If they're broken at this point, then the whole thing is possible. If they break off at a later point, it's not such an issue if one breaks off.
Okay.
At this point, it's an issue. So that's basically what you're checking for. You're not checking necessarily to tighten it. During the week, you see it's loose, tighten it. On Friday, give it an extra tug because it's got to last
So
So
if
if-
the Ganzen tug.
I was gonna say, so is that okay when women have dresses that have the belts that you tie?
Yes, or a robe,
Okay.
right? That you might tie a double knot on your robe, right? But it's not a permanent knot. Yes.
Really quick, so if the ends of your zit starts to kind of unravel, is that unvalid at that point?
No, that will not make it invalid at all.
Okay.
Now, if your tzitzit strings tend to unravel, a good thing to do is to tie a little knot at the very end. Okay, you tie a little knot at the very end, and that way it will stop it from. See what I said over there?
Oh, nice.
Little knot at the end there.
Okay.
Right. These don't are not. So I haven't done it, but if that is an issue, then that's a good way to deal with that.
Thank you.
Sewing, 23, the malach of sewing involves connecting two pieces of cloth or other materials to each other. Forbidding activities include sewing, gluing together a piece of paper, cloth, leather, any other material, tightening a loose thread in a garment, stapling papers, or a booklet. Okay, so that we would not want to do. How about putting in, let's say, a safety pin? My hem is slipping, so I want to put a safety pin over there. So I think that will be okay, as long as I'm not going through. If I just go through once, then that I believe will be okay.
It's also not permanent, right?
Yeah,
Take it out.
yeah. Tearing. Okay, the malach of tearing, 24, page 172, involves tearing paper, cloth, other materials, separating anything stuck together by glue, etc. Separating pages connected to one another. Look at the pictures down below. Tearing shapes from paper or material, tearing a page from a notebook. Okay, that is why when it comes to toilet paper, right, one should either have tissues in the bathroom or have some torn toilet paper beforehand. If one does not, then there's an issue of kavod habriot, which is human dignity. So if you go into someone's bathroom, you're a guest at someone's house, and there is no cut toilet paper, so then what you would do is you would have to tear some paper, do it in an unusual manner, right? Human dignity is of
Maybe like tear it in the middle of one.
Yeah,
rather than
yeah,
one crease.
yeah. Instead of like that, yeah, you try to do it in an unusual manner. Okay, right? Yeah. But most bathrooms have some tissues in there, even if not with Shabbos in mind. But most bathrooms have some tissues in there. Okay. Even the box of tissues, though, sometimes you have to be careful. Some box of tissues, each tissue is somewhat attached to the one underneath it, and that's what helps pull it out. Right. So you want to be when buying tissues for Shabbos use, you want to get those that are not actually attached one to the other. Yeah. Okay. Now, tearing in a destructive manner would not be an issue. Meaning, let's say I've got a cellophane wrap, a plastic wrap around a box of chocolates, right? Or I've got a thing of paper plates, right? So there, tearing that is not going to be an issue.
So if you had I had my challah wrapped in aluminum foil and I tore that a little bit,
that is not going to be a problem. If you have your challah in a bag, right, you could tear that bag in order to get the challah out. You want to be careful not tearing any words. That's another issue, okay? But right, that will come up in the next set of 9, which is writing, okay? But when tearing and not making a vessel, okay, meaning when I tear off that strip from the top of my box of cereal, right, I've now created a nice box that opens and closes very nicely. That should be opened up before Shabbos, okay? But opening up a bag of chips, right, tearing off the top, that's, even though now that's not a vessel that that would be used, right? But right, we mentioned before opening up a can of tuna, right, on Shabbos. That, right, opening up those cans, there I'm creating a vessel. I am creating a vessel. The thing to do then, what, right, that you guys? Yeah, poke a hole in the bottom first, right? And then take off the lid. And that way it's not, I never created a usable vessel. It was an unusable vessel from the start of it. Okay, guys, with that, we've concluded those 13. Right? Again, the next part of the Sefer is going to go through the actual applications of much of this. The next 9 is going to be writing. Before you can write, what must you do? Trap. Because what are you writing on? Parchment. Not that it's only problem to write on parchment, but in the Mishkan, the writing was done on parchment. So now we'll have the next 9 is going to be about trapping. Okay, and at that point we're already at 33 of the 39, so it's not quite so overwhelming.
Nice.
Okay, Yashikoach, everybody. Tisia, good seeing you. Jackie, good to see you. Simone, good, everybody.
Good night.
Okay. Good night.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Rabbi.